Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Way We Grow podcast, a production of the Craft Growers Network. I'm your host, Nick Wolfe. Today, our guest is Edgar Pena, also known as Masonic Smoker. Edgar, welcome to the show. Thanks for showing up today.
Thank you for the invite.
Yeah, absolutely. How's what's been new in your grow world? I mean, everyone kind of gets ramping up this time of year, and you definitely have a lot of outdoor plants typically. So, what's new going on with you?
Right now, just kind of focusing on what I like more than anything, what I vibe with, like the consumables, what I like to smoke. I'm growing a lot of that and repopulating and making hybrids of that being the grand focus, as opposed to other years where I was more on a discovery path, trying to see what's under every given name, growing all the names out to see what aroma comes with that name to kind of see if I vibe with it or not. And that's kind of where I'm at. I'm not that I'm not doing that still. I still got, names that I'm trying to lock in. When I say names, I mean like, a strain name that you're not familiar with, a variety, and you just kind of grow it. And you're like, okay, that's train wreck. Okay, cool. We know what that is now. Let's
For
not grow
sure.
that again. or like bother keep looking down that rabbit hole. But that's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. I'm working on stuff that I really like, Z's and candies and gases and starburst and things like that. And I'm also, repopulating a bunch of my old varieties, which entails a bunch of the stuff that I found on my discovery path, you know, which could be like something that I don't necessarily consume, but it's something worthy and good for the culture, like a Panama Red or a Malawi or some Tom Hill Haze or something like a Puck hash plant or some India land races from Trident Seeds. I heard Robert Clark just name dropped them yesterday. Or like some of the Thailand land races that I got from Botan Eyes. I see Robert Clark follows that dude, and it just things that I think were important that I've been finding on my discovery path. These I probably found like 3, 4 years ago, and now it makes sense why I even have these things. But not that I'm looking down those nooks and crannies anymore. I'm more focused on repopulating things that I want to smoke. That way my consumer base can grow those things and it's a full circle of like, hell yeah, bangers, bangers, bangers. Like that's
For
competition
sure.
worthy gear as opposed to like a Thailand or a
Yeah.
African, and we're just right there scratching our chin like, why do we do this?
No, I mean, it is kind of like when when you're looking into like breeding in general and how you're going to approach it, you have to think who's going to be like supporting the work because it isn't an easy task. It's not something that's cheap to do because I mean, the time and effort of just doing 100 plants pheno hunt is very time consuming and so resource consuming, and it's expensive for the initial like seeds, whatever you're getting. And so, hats off to you for doing that work and putting in that time. And I feel like there's so much, you know, uh, controversy sometimes when it comes to your gear. And I don't understand why, because I feel like you're just doing so many different crosses to provide this sort of opening of a genotype expression that allows for real, like, all these different flavors to come through. And especially when you are helping people win, you know, all these different competitions with the stuff that they're finding out of your seeds, the proof is in the pudding, kind of. Um, but I do really appreciate that work. And uh, I feel like, so with some of those flavors that you're hunting, are you, when you're talking about these older either like land races or sort of like classic strains, are you then planning on working those back in to see if you can pull some more unique like flavor expressions from the ones that you're already sort of vibing with right now?
Yeah, that just comes naturally with any given season. It's as easy as keeping that plant alive, in rotation, keeping it cutting, throwing it into the pollination, and that's just in the grow, like just, take it out of veg, put it in flower, and now you made seeds with it. And boom, it's and yes, we do that every time. Like I have Thailand natural selection populations, and we've grown those over, and then we hit those again, and that's the best part is being able to dig back in my bag and be like, ooh, let's grow this Fire OG natural selections or hybrid of a single male donor pollen. Like, let's grow that because you know let's see what that materializes, and or I don't have the receiving end no more. Like we lost the clone, and let's go capture that essence again. And for like the more rusticy vibes, like the more feral type varieties, you'll grow those and see the influence of something more modern in there, and you're just like, hell yeah, like that Thailand was like straight frankincense sandalwood mom, and now I grew the seeds of it, and it's like this big tropical crazy plant, it's like throwing down these hella jelly purple esque nugs, but it's growing like a Thailand landrace
Oh,
variety. So yeah, like that's all that just all just comes with the program for sure, man. Uh Going back to things I made 4 or 5 years ago and be like, oh, I missed something here. Like I made that, but my nose and my palate and the things that I know weren't as versed, and I probably didn't respect that variety when I grew it then and there because I'm doing so much at the same time. I'm just throwing shit
for
at the
sure.
wall that I'm able to go back to the wall and be like, ooh, let me grow this DJ Shorts Newberry Blueberry that I remember it was being good, but I wasn't on that vibe yet. Like
Sure.
I was just doing shit, But let's go back over there and grab that hybrid of it that I made with either Wilson and revisit that because I know I remember something there.
I mean, everybody's palate sort of develops over time, and it's cool that you're remembering what some of those things were, and you're like, man, but that would actually fit really well right now with some of the other stuff that I'm working on. Like that's a really huge swath of like genetics that you can access that you can then remix into whatever it is that you got going on. Um, so, a part of this show is I like to find out where people got started with their gardening because some people start, cannabis as their first plant. But some people were gardening with mom and dad or grandma or grandpa back when they were younger. So, where did it start for you? Where did you start gardening and how did it develop into cannabis if vegetables were your first?
So I grew up with a lot of like my grandparents were always around, and my grandpa Candelario, my dad's dad, he always kept a really nice house and garden. Like he had six types of guava trees, a permison, orange tree, lemon tree, grapes or berries. I forget which one it was. A fig tree, sugar cane,
Oh, wow.
bananas, horsetail, and I'm probably missing one or two, right? Like he always was on point, right? That was my grandpa Candelario, and he had a house here in Los Angeles, off El Segundo, Vermont, and he did all that there amongst his house. So
That's
he
so
was always
cool.
on point. I grew up around that type of dude. I grew up at his house. My dad would have us there all the time, and we would just be looking under rocks, playing with pill bugs and things like that. And then my other side of the family is my grandpa Adan and my grandma Sofia. I have my grandma Chepina too, my Candelario's wife, but she wasn't necessarily a gardener like that.
For sure.
She's a very bomb cook, and she keeps her house very on point, like very clean cut lady. But that has nothing to do with gardening. We're talking about gardening. My mom's mom and dad, both of them just so happen to deal with like farmer vibes. They have a house in Mexico that we would go visit almost every summer and winter. And normal kids, they have their summer here in the States and they do shit. Now, like they would ship us out. That's what I would say. They ship us out. All the kids shipped out to Mexico. And our grandfather, he had like land, and on that land they would grow corn and chili and tomatoes. So
Okay.
any given part of the season that we'd be there, like one season we're throwing kernels into the hole. One
Okay.
season we're harvesting, and the way we harvest it over there, it's called piscando, piscábamos, and we made our own little like hand protector, like a piece of metal that we shaped into like a thing so we can get the dry kernel and poke it in and throw it into the petaca. And I'm talking about I'm in
Okay.
fifth grade and they're having us do this. Like it's not a it's like, dude, go do it.
Not
Like
calling the family.
you got to carry your weight, you know. And then my older brothers, they're my uncles, but they're my brothers only a year older. My mom helped raise them. They grew up with me, same room, same clothes. You know, we fought and loved each other together. They still help me in the garden.
Hell yeah.
They used to hustle and bustle and they were into it. So I'm right there like, fuck, like I gotta keep up because, you know, I'm gonna get fed last and be shunned at the family, you know? So I would always try to carry my weight. So and then we would also plant chili, and the way you plant chili is on your knees, and you just put a piece of chili in the hole, and you're on to the next one. You just do rows of this until you know I'm 10 years old, 12 years old. Like I was like, you know, I did it till I was done, you know, and it was
Sure.
probably like an hour or two that I put in my little work and on with the day, you know. But I had that influence growing up for sure. You know, growing up with my grandpa Don in Mexico, and then my grandma Sophia, she just always kept like chickens and shit around, you know. So she was very self-sustainable, you know, like she raised her own chickens, killed her own chickens, and like, you know, she was part of having us go do what we had to do because my grandfather was blind, so he wasn't necessarily in
Oh
the
wow.
field having us do things like he was blind, so it'd be like they managed, you know, like grandma was like the ones that's like in the back with the stick, and grandpa was the one that was like, hey, we're gonna do this, we're gonna build a house, we're gonna go, you know, fill up the field with corn, we're gonna grab corn, we're gonna harvest corn, we're gonna do corn shit, you know. So
Wow.
that's what we did. I had a lot of influence of hard work and, you know, things that had to do with plants from my
For
grandparents
sure.
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, I feel like anybody that sees your regular posts on your Instagram page would know that your backyard is kind of like a little farm. You got your chickens and other animals at times, and so I think that's pretty rad because they're definitely part of the same ecosystem, and you can use them to an advantage if you are using it for like fertility or whatnot. But so when did you first start growing cannabis then, and how did that transition start from, the sort of the farm life that you had, as well as seeing sort of this well manicured, like mini orchard in grandpa's backyard and stuff. When did that go to cannabis?
I mean, so I started smoking weed when I was like 15, like ninth grade.
Okay.
And somewhere around that time, you know, me and my brothers, my uncles, they're twins, they're like a year older than me. um they probably planted a seed in a solo cup and I watched it grow, and I was just right there like, cool, this is dope. And I remember even planting the seed and then having to kill it, you know, like throwing it over to the neighbor's yard because we were paranoid that our parents would see it, and it's like vegged out like this. You're just like, ah, like chuck it. And
Yeah.
so this is like high school, and never did I get into it. We just smoke it. We smoke it. We smoke it. That was my first experience being around a plant or trying to grow a plant, and it wasn't in me yet. You know, it was like,
Sure.
you know, I was lost in the matrix, whatever, dude. So
The connection
uh,
wasn't there, right? Like
it
you saw the
wasn't there
plant,
yet.
but you had the bud, and you're like, there's no way.
Yeah, yeah. And then the first bud we did get, like I remember the twins were growing it, and I would go to my grandma's house in LA. She had a house in LA too. And I would go to like the backyard where the twins had like one of those buds growing, and it was just like a stick with a nug on it. And I'm just scratching my chin like I want to smoke this, but it don't look right. And it's
Yeah.
just like whatever. Like I'm not interested, you know. Like whatever. It hadn't poked me yet, you know. But
Yep.
flash forward like high school, I graduated high school, and my parents were stoked because they didn't graduate high school, and my big brother graduated, went to college. I'm the next up. I graduated high school. They're happy. Like, you know, we're from the hood. You know, not a lot of people make it out. You know, we got
Fair
stigmas and
enough.
shit. So they were really happy, and my dad was so happy, and he knew I love weed and all that. So he bought me a pound of sour diesel weed on like graduation. So fresh out of high school, it's my last day of school. I think my mom or my dad calls me. They're like, "Come to the yard." They run a tow truck business. So come to the yard. Your dad has something for you. I get there, and he's there in his office, like big fucking Tony Soprano looking office, and he's like, and there's like a pound of weed right there, and I'm like, what? Like for me, going crazy.
That's
Keep in mind,
crazy.
like I've only had eights, and every now and then on 420 during my high school years, me and my buddies would chip in, have a killer 420, but
For
never a
sure.
pound,
Oh,
never
dude,
a
the first P
pound.
is crazy, right?
And it's sour D, like he's like, I paid 4,000 for this, and it's just like, what?
Woo!
Like, let's go.
That's
Instead of a brand
crazy.
new car, like my dad buys me a pound of weed. So he buys me this pound of weed, and I'm just on top of the world. I'm selling to all my friends. I'm still with my wife. She was my girlfriend at the time. And we're at the mall all the time. We're buying comic books. We're buying DVDs, Fear and Loathing, Godfather posters. Like we're just, I have my own space, and I'm smoking sour diesel every day. People are coming in like clockwork. And then one day my dad comes in and he's all like, "Where's the money?" And I'm all like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, you're supposed to like sell it and like get money and buy another one and make money." And like he didn't tell me like that, but that's basically what it. And
Oh, wow.
I'm just like I fucked up, like it's kind of common sense too. Like don't be an asshole, like
For
yeah, you
sure.
can smoke the weed and be on top of the world, but like you have to, that's what you should have done, and you don't understand your father then, but then you get it when you get older. You're like, no, flip that shit, get some money, keep it pushing, make a business. But I didn't get it. I'm junior, I'm his son, and I dropped that bag, literally and figuratively speaking. And then I'm pivoting. I made this lifestyle for myself that I can't maintain anymore. And next thing you know, I'm back to the dispensary. I'm buying $50 eighths again, trying to relive that life that I left behind. And I start planting seeds. I'm like 18 years old, planting seeds in my dad's backyard and just mustering up any given clone. My cousin Johnny, he's a little younger than me. He had like access to medical dispensaries he would visit, and he would bring me a clone, and I would pop a random bag seed, and we would just grow with no knowledge, no nothing. Like his my dad's friend Ray Navarro, that put him in connection to buy that pound, was actually our first influence to the plant, because Ray grew indoor and outdoor, and he would send us videos of him with what's that thing called, the vapor IPM guns. I have one. I own them. It like shoots out the foggers. He would send us videos of him fogging all his plants, and we're 18 with big old eyes because he's out these videos of all these plants, and he's just fogging them on. We're just like
Well,
drooling, like because we know
yeah,
this guy, we could get this stuff. And Ray would come over and bring me hash in like a medical jar, and I'd be smoking hash, and it like that was the guy that normalized it for my dad to even let me grow a couple plants in his backyard, let alone buy that pound of weed. And
for sure.
Ray put my dad on game. He's like, hey, this is the way I grow. I grab these 17-gallon pots from the grocery store or from Home Depot. Those big red ones that or
Hmm.
whatever color, where they just put ice in 2 liters and whatever their drinks, and I fill it half and half with Miracle Grow and steer manure, and I just throw a clone in there, and by the end of the season, you just got weed everywhere, and I use clones, and we were taught that, and at one of my dad's yards, him and my mom, because they were always into it. There's money in this, it's not just, oh, we're just a bunch of, no, like they're very business minded, and they're like, if you grow this many plants, you get this much for the weed. So I'm right there too, like not like that, but more like I just want to smoke this shit.
Sure.
They're right there, like we're about to make some bread, and so they buy like 10 pots, and they buy the dirt, and they get the clones from Ray, but rats eat them, and I'm still kind of like I probably have a couple plants already at their backyard here in Compton. They have the yard over there, and that's when my love and my kind of grind to grow happened, was when I dropped the bag and I had to figure out how to muster it up again. And I'm a bad weed dealer, a bad trapper. I'm a better grower. And when I started growing it, I just start like I got into it. Like I would go on Google, blah 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 blah, how to grow cannabis, and like I think one of the first things that came up is like George Cervantes, Canna Bible, and then like these random forums would come up, but I would never join them and or understand how to maneuver in them, and I would just like go to my backyard and just learn how to grow, and I probably grew like in my own echo chamber till like 2000 like 15 16, and some I just learned a lot with whatever little resources I could find online and meeting people, just like weird ways of consuming information as opposed to now where you could just ask artificial intelligence and everything is there.
Right.
Um I had to learn like the hard way. It was like music back then. They didn't have the internet. You had to go find the music. I had to go find the information, and I would go on Google and blah, 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 how to grow weed, and just
What
kind of go
what were
from
some of
there.
those first methods you used? Did you go with the Miracle Grow steer manure at
Yeah,
first, and
so
then
so I did with the Miracle Grow steer manure, and then like a high school friend of mine, his name was Conrad. He came to my house and he's like, "Yo, my big brother uses Fox Farm," and I'm just like, "All right, we'll go to the hydro store on my next endeavor." And sure enough, I got like a job at a sausage factory making Korean sausage, and on my first paycheck, on my lunch, I went to a nursery and I loaded up on Fox Farm. And that same day, that same night, I went home and transplanted all my plants into Fox Farm. And just little by little learning like that. And then next thing you know, I'm at the hydro store and I'm meeting Stan at Los Angeles Hydroponics, and Stan is teaching me about nutrients and shit. And next thing you know, I'm using like Fox Farm with like General Hydro salts and shit because the liquid fertilizers don't go as far as the powdered fertilizers do. And then next thing you know, I'm learning about organics, and then next thing you know, I'm learning about natural farming, and then it kind of like I went down the path to what I like to use. It's just like a nice bag soil, and I just amend or beds that I amend, or I fertigate here and there. Like I found out how I like to grow, but I kind of went down the ringer, went up the ladder
for sure,
of ways to learn. There's methods I don't like. I don't do cocoa. I don't do DWC. I never went down those routes. I was always kind of like a dirt, like soil.
for
You know?
sure. What's like your current go-to setup? If you can choose everything, because I know sometimes I've seen you be like, "Hey, I just had to go with this because I needed 500 bags of soil tomorrow."
Yeah. So convenience is the main thing. Like I'm never gonna wait for anything, right? So I just kind of and when I say that I mean about dirt and fertigation and like plant tags and things that need to be done now. Um, so like the dirt, I use Vital Garden Supply. Brian has really good dirt. It works well with my plants. And when Brian's not around, I kind of got to pivot, right? And Brian's not around all the time, so his dirt, is not, you can't just grab it all the time. I kind of got to make an order. It comes in pallets. I made a couple orders through the years. I used all the dirt, so I got to go to LA Garden Supply here in LA with Leonard, and I like to use Pro Mix. I like to use the King's Mix from what's that, Humble. I like to
Bro,
use
yeah.
Roots Organics, not in that order. I think King's Mix, Pro Mix, Roots Organics, regular bag, the original one, not the 707. In that order is what I like to use for just like grab and go dirt. And then I'll just grab like some BioLive and like bah, throw that on top, and the plants are green, and I'm just like, boop, and life goes on. That's
Nice.
literally all I could use for a plant's life cycle, and it'll give me my end goal result for the most part.
For sure. Yeah, that BioLive stuff is great. I'll use that with like their like all-purpose as well, with the tomato on the front of the package. And
Yeah.
it's like the same thing that you would feed a tomato plant in a large pot outside. But
Yep.
so when because you have like a lot of plants that are just going straight in the ground. So are you like re-amending that soil at all, or just kind of like letting it go through some sort of life cycle, or
Nah. I just top dress. I don't re-amend. I just, all right. We spent all this dirt. Throw it. We have like a corner where we throw the dirt. Throw it in there, and it just lays there through the year. Chickens playing there. I'll scoop up a gang of chicken shit from where they like to perch and sleep at night, and I'll throw it in there, and we just throw shit in there. And then when it's time to repot or just use plants that aren't as important, like I have Headbanger S1 seed stock from Karma that he just gave me. I'm not gonna use reused dirt for that. I'm gonna
For sure.
use, you know what I mean? I'm gonna use reused dirt for um this X. I have 50 fucking copies of Cherry Kush, and I have a mom there, and I have my mom backed up. Use it there, and the plants they green out. I'll throw some BioLive on top. Boom, they're in the game. They grow fine. The sun really helps with making them nice and vibrant and helping them grow out. And I get away with that. I get away with that. And even with the seedlings, I'll just go to that pile of me just stacking over the years of dirt and dirt, and I'll fill up trays and I'll pop seeds in there, and everything's fine. Everything grows just like it's supposed to.
For sure. What's one of the longest genetics that you've kept around, like as a mom, and then cloning off of it, and
It's probably my Wilson Mel. Probably my Wilson Mel. I still have him around. I'm gonna do another little bigger bust with him. I did a little side quest with him. But my Wilson Mel, I've kept them around since about 2018, and I just whip them out to do works, and that's like I used a Wilson Mel like indoor pollination F1, and then 2018 is when I made you know the last and the Wilson Mel that most people are familiar with, because that was the one I used for all the outdoor busts, and that was the Wilson F2 Mel that I've kept since 2018. So what's that? About 7 years, I want to say. And then through that time, I got a Panama Red Cut that Sungrown Mids gave me, like when I met him at Ego Clash around 2019. I still have that cut, and I'm not like a I'm 32. My Instagram grow career started around that time.
for
So like
sure,
2 years into knowing people, I started to keep things around for sure.
for sure. What's your method to keep plants around that long? I know
Just
some people
just
have
clone
different
them,
ways of doing it.
clone them, man. You gotta. So I got the clone, right? You boom, you're gifted the clone. You're in the game. You got this Skittles cut, whatever, something that grows better. You got a Blue Dream. Um, they give you the Blue Dream. You have it in I have it in my 1 gallon pot. It grows like this. Damn, I already got a shoot. Take it. I'm not in a rush to go throw it into production. Cool. I got it backed up. Leave it in a 24-hour greenie forever to the end of time, and just keep taking cuts off of that, and just keep rejuvenating that. And that could be 1 week, 2 week, 3 week. That could be as quick as a new shoot comes out, and that's to me it's kind of just like uh those are gonna get overgrown. There's stuff like sardines, you know, let's take like 3 cuts off of each one and stuff them like sardines somewhere else so that they could grow, you know, not as good there, and we could still have our really vibrant lush one, and we'll fill in the space, and we'll grab these sardines, and we'll hit up the network and be like, cheap plants, or we'll kill them, or I'll find somewhere to throw them.
For sure.
You know, but
Cool.
that's usually the case, is literally taking the cut and just having that veg greenie, in my case, where I could just throw stuff all day. Like I could literally throw it in there. I could have a plant that is approaching its finish line. It could be 1 week, it could be finished, it could be past finish, and I'll be like, that's a good one. Throw it in the greenie. And come back a month or two later, it's got like it's like a Frankenstein plant with crazy veg shoots everywhere.
For sure.
Once you know what a plant could take, you could have a yellow plant in a 4 inch brick that you grew out from July all the way till February, and it's just yellow, and you're just right there like, ah. You throw it in a 1 gallon, let it eat a little bit, it's green again. You take that top shoot, you're back in the game. And keep in mind how long you had that on ice. But that's just knowing how much a plant could take compared to how quick you could be on it. You
For
know?
sure. Yeah. No, I mean, there's definitely like a a practicality to it when you have that many plants that you're keeping around, and you can't necessarily just treat them all with, as much attention as you would if you were only growing, 10 or 20.
Sadly you can, but you end up just being there all the time. Like
Yeah,
I
you
found
can't.
days that
No.
I'm there from 10 to 9 and I'm
Yeah,
just like what and I'm like,
and there's still
"Oh,
more to do.
I got to go. Like I got to go." And it's fine. It's a blessing. But it's like how long do you want to be here? And it's finding a balance and kind of all right, with me I want to do everything. So I
For
kind
sure.
of got to like I'm still popping seeds even though I shouldn't. I'll figure it out. Like,
Yep.
oh, males are gonna start popping up. I tell myself these things. All right, cool. We're gonna have more space. Oh, mom said you could throw some plants in her backyard. Oh, we got this other space. We'll hit up a homie. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, when you have that much work to do, it's almost like, yeah, it is a blessing and a curse at the same time because you can always find more work that needs to be done in the garden.
Yep.
Um, so, with all of your experience, what are some of the biggest lessons that you learned that might be able to translate to newer growers or just other growers in general? And we'll frame it as a two-part question. What was one of these big lessons that you learned from a setback, and what was a big lesson you learned where you found like a success that you weren't necessarily expecting?
Man, after saying all that, bro, less is more. It's madness. But I think it's just knowing what what job you're up for and bro, I don't know, like I got lost in my sauce, I could say, these past couple years where, I flew so close to the sun that I forgot my role. And my role was gardening myself, and me doing most of the gardening because that's what people related to. And that's what made me who I am. So, less is more and don't forget what made you are things that I've learned the hard way, and usually it's right in front of you. It's the simple things that people relate to that I overlooked because of all the grand things that I did. So you just kind of like, you know, I'm back to it's very humbling. I'm down to earth again. I'm throughout my, you know, all these things that I did. I met a lot of people, but like I didn't give a lot of people the time, you know, and people
For sure.
they didn't appreciate that. But it's not because it's just because I didn't know. They don't write a book for this. I'm just like, oh thanks, oh thanks, oh thanks. And I have like a a, a thing this big of gifts that were offered, and I don't know what to do. They don't have a manager. Hey Mace, you should do this, and this, and this, and this. I'm just like, and now it's the train's gone, and now I'm blessed to still be able to have a skill, and whatever, like something to offer and do what I do. But those are things, less is more. Appreciate the things that you got. Pick up the little things that are offered. Don't. It's weird. It's weird. Less is more for sure. Even now, doing all this, don't forget what made you. Like gardening made me who I am, and I kind of built a store on Fairfax in Hollywood and did all and it was cool. It's good for the portfolio and it's grand and and it inspires and it does all this. It really sets a bar. But like the garden, bro. The garden.
For sure. No, I feel that sometimes like you have a vision and you want to see it come to fruition, but it does help to take a step back at times and think, well, what am I like? What brought me joy in this whole thing? And that for a lot of people, I feel like the gardening aspect of it is where they find the joy because that's where they like found peace when they were looking for something to do and something to fill their time and fill their like you know like they want to use their hands, they want to do something, but not not a lot of people like have access to big gardens, so home gardening is really just a really good way to get that sort of itch scratched. But yeah, right on. I can definitely applaud that. It's good to kind of get back to your roots when you are trying to figure everything else out. um So in terms like of that being like a lesson that was sort of like a humbling experience within your own garden, like through the sort of different methods that you might have implemented over the years, what was something that was surprising that worked really well?
Um, hash, bro. When I learned how to make hash, it's like you don't gotta dry all these plants. I could have just stuffed them in the freezer and whipped them up in my lab. It's that. I wish I would have knew how to make hash since 2012 because I've been having big bust making big BHO type things amongst the confines of my space and my tools since then. It's always been damn that's a lot of weed. Since then, and I wish I would have knew that then. Now, but but like Sulfo X, I like that a lot. I wish I would have had Sulfo X this whole time. Just tools like that. Um, not just those two things. How to make hash and Sulfo X. Those are the two things I could think of that because I do a lot of things in my garden and Sulfo X is like that keeps the plants clean and being there every day and having like a decent dirt with decent fertigation and top dress like that's part of the fertilization for fertilizing but not fertilization fertilizing he that kind of just gets me from point A to B there's like I'm not too focused on anything else just general growing practices, pruning, cloning, watering them accordingly, and feeding them. And IPM, Sulfo X is my go to. And then making hash. We're in the zone.
Nice, nice. What with all the different clones that you do bring in from other people to be part of your breeding program, what is your intake method to help prevent, any sort of bug or pathogen or something from coming into your garden?
I'm not too like worried for the most part. Like that Sulfo X is it's a sulfur based product. We do use other things. Like I'll go to the store and I'll ask Leonard, hey, what do people like? All right, fuck it. We'll throw it in the rotation, because plant bugs do get used to shit, I've noticed. And I'll just throw in another one. Like, just spray with this today. But as far as intake of plants, quarantining them and doing all that, you give me a plant today, I'll probably throw it in the greenhouse in the corner somewhere. And it's like the dog yard there. Like the pest pressure in my garden, you're like literally with 5,000 plants, right? That all are doing fair, fine, or really good. None of them are like the only ones that are doing bad are the ones that are like that's an old mom that flowered out that I'm just an asshole and I'm just keeping her alive. Be like I'm just a dick, like
For sure.
it's not because we literally spray all the fucking time. We spray like 3 times a week. We're crazy, We're it's just madness. And when I say we, it's my uncle Joel and my uncle Adon, my brothers, that help me with the garden. And every now and then I'll spray too. But they help me with the garden because they like to hang out there because it's a garden and they
Yeah.
like to see the plants clean. And one of them works indoor and he works, at 100, 200 lighter, 1,000 lighter here in LA. So he gets to see like both worlds.
Okay.
And he's just like, food Junior, you're crazy, fool. I don't know how you do it. Like, and because he goes from this very robotic grow to like my crazy ass grow, and it's fine. It's fine. He's
Sure.
like, damn, Junior, your plants look good. Like, and I'm just like, I know, it's just being there every day, observation and love, passion. But I'm not even answering the question. I will literally grab your clone, put it in the greenhouse in a pot, call it a day. If your plant looks like it has plant aids, I will probably not even grow it. I will just destroy it. Most and it's probably not that good either way, like because you have a plant with plant aids. What are you doing? Like why are you offering stuff? But
Yeah.
like I've taken Chem, Dub, tons of Hayes Valley nursery varieties. If anything, I've seen seeds that'll grow out and have like things more than a clone that is gifted to me. And I'll be like, whoa, and I'll grab that, cross and I'll just throw it somewhere. My first experience with seeing something kind of looking ugly was with Purple City Genetics at Emerald Cup 2018. they had a double dream that they were selling that day. And I remember everything looked fine except this double dream. It had these rigid, jagged leaves. Like on top of the leaves, it had like blemishes and like it was just it looked like a fucking Halloween plant or some shit, you know? And
Sure.
and this is before a hop hop latent viroid was like jargon. Like people weren't saying that yet, you know? And all I did was like, I just, common sense. I was like, I'm not going to introduce that into the greenies or any of my like little sections. I grabbed that plant, I put it in like a 10-gallon mesh pot, and I threw it on concrete at the furthest end of my property at where I garden at. And it snapped out of it. It snapped out of it. It stopped
Hmm.
growing like that. For a while it did, but then it snapped out of it. And then like I keep a clone, grow it out again, and then I grew that plant, and then it started expressing that thing again, and then it was rubbing up against the plant, and it transferred onto that plant.
Oh shit.
So I've seen it happen with my own eyes, where plants that look like that will rub up against the plant and infect them, to say the
Did
least.
did you use a scope to look at the underside of the leaves at all?
Nah, bro, I'm like chicken big, chicken small. I'm that guy. Like
Oh no, for sure. Because
yeah.
it sounds like it could have been russet mites.
No. I didn't check, but this is literally. But keep in mind, there's 1,000 other plants,
Right.
and this is the only one. This is the only one. It's nowhere else, and we spray a lot. Like
For
we'll
sure.
drench these motherfuckers, and I don't think it's rusted mice. I think that double dream from Purple City Genetics when they sold it to me for sure probably had something wrong with it. But I
Fuck.
don't know. To this day, like from seed till like clone up again in a tray, like it'll remain like that. It's more like a mutation than it is uh like I've seen rusted mites. I can
For sure.
identify rusted mites.
For sure.
This is not rusted mites. Like
Okay.
I
Cool. Cool.
yeah, I know I can identify rusted mites uh without a fucking microscope. Like, oh, that plant's got fucking rusted mites, you know?
So, I mean, with all the plants you've grown out and doing it outdoor, like list off some of the different pests and pathogens that you've encountered because I feel like for so many people, they're so worried about pests and pathogens because they haven't experienced them yet. But you have this laid back attitude about it because I'm assuming you've seen a lot.
Yeah, I've dealt with like so I one season I decided I was gonna clone in my greenhouse on the floor. So I grabbed, trays straight onto the floor. Like I'm talking about like there used to be a lawn there. And then root aphids. That was the year I encountered root aphids. Right? So that was like 2018 and that was an ugly one, I was like,
Yeah.
whoa. Aphids. Like I've literally grown aphids, like fuck growing plants. I've grown aphids, like I used to drink so much, had it all figured out. Dude, come water my plants, I'll pay you, fucking Wilson's back there, he's doing his thing, you know what I mean? And I look back there, I'm like, fuck, like I've been through ebbs and flows, So I've seen aphids, like aphids, like fucking aphids, you're fucking squeezing them
All
off the
over.
stems,
Yeah.
Russets where the plants start browning out and they won't grow and it's just like everything it's in the name like it looks rusty it looks brown and you're just like
Yep.
what the fuck is happening here it looks like the sun is burning them but it's fucking russets um mold powdery mildew there's a gnarly marine layer here in SoCal. I live like 20 minutes from the beach. Um,
Okay.
bro, mold
Yeah.
with newer genetics. Now that I've grown more, acclimated better, have a better IPM regimen, have tons of dirt to use so plants can have better root systems. We don't really have issues now that we know more and we have more
For sure.
tools. Like there used to be a point where I couldn't afford IPM. Like I can't go buy plant therapy. I'm on fucking food stamps and I work at Rite Aid and I get paid $13 an hour. I can't buy that shit, Like I got a kid that I got to get Infamil first before I could get this fucking plant therapy. So I kind of gotta, like, I'm blessed now. Now I got, Athena will give me a bottle of IPM or whatever, like, or whatever organic natural farmer will bless me with some OHN or something. Like, it's different now. It's different now. Now I have tools and a network and a pocketbook to help me help my plants, as opposed
For
to,
sure.
yeah, I've seen a lot because of the resources that I had, and just going through, I made all those errors to be able to identify it and work it, like, and literally the answer is just IPM. Just spray, bro. Be out there 3 times a week. Healthy built soils are really good too if you're into that world. But if you're just like point A to B type of guy like me, just observation and keeping them green, bro.
For sure. No, I think a 3 time a week spray is what a lot of uh, like professional cultivation facilities will use as well. So, like, it's not like they're doing it because they want to waste money. Like, that prevention is key. And it sounds like if you're using, like Suffoil or Lost Coast IPM, like all those different things are some of the standards for a lot of places. So that's right on point with what most people probably want to be doing in their garden. But you're right, it's expensive if you're just buying those whenever you need them, especially with what 5,000 plants you said. So
Yeah, dude. I mean, to me, with everything that I have, $20 is a lot. $40 is a lot. $50 is a lot. A lot of us are regular people with regular lives and regular jobs, and you're just like, man, this is my extra $100 to take my wife out to Cheesecake Factory tonight. Like, is this gonna be, like, is this gonna kick me in the ass later or not?
yep, yep, I feel that. Well, with all the pheno hunting that you do, what are some of the practices that you like to implement when you are doing a pheno hunt? Um, I mean, like, let's say, what's your average pheno hunt? Like 400 or 500 plants, or is it in the thousands now?
I mean, I popped 200 seeds last night just because, So this is my thing. When you read a book, you grab the book. You've probably seen this on an Instagram story somewhere. You read the first couple pages, and assuming you're reading for entertainment purposes, not because someone assigned you the book,
Right.
which sometimes you got to read those books too to really take yourself serious in this breeding world, right? Like, you got to grow the Acapulco Gold, you got to grow the Thailands. It's a long book, and it sucks, to you it might. Some people love it. All that to say, you don't read 10 minutes into the book and you're just like, this sucks, and you keep reading. No, you put the fucking book down and you grab another one. Same thing with a TV show, same thing with a movie, same thing with a song, same thing with a video game, same thing with a plant. You don't need to grow out a full term plant, a full life cycle plant to know it's jack, right? So, like, you're growing it out like me in a 1 gallon per se. I'm phenohunting. I'm not gonna allocate. Oh, I want to see how big and the structure and who. Everything's gonna, like, you'll see it even amongst its 1 gallon peers how it grows,
Right.
right? And compared to all the other seed stocks you're growing in 1 gallons to see, oh wow, this one just grows twice as big, or it's a stout plant, or it's a bushy plant, or oh look, even if it's sardine, it's trying to throw out its leg, like it's trying to bush out. Like, you just kind of identify those things. So you don't need to grow big plants to be able to. What I'm more vested in is aromas, finding new aromas to capture and materialize and hybridize and lock in and clone and do everything with, especially with like a breeder I'm stoked on, or a bag I'm stoked on. So if I go grab Bubba Banger from Karma, and then I'm flying it out, and it's like week 2, week 3, and it's already throwing out that Bubba, I'm already there like, oh, like, and meanwhile you got these other dude, he's trying to sell you the strain, and he's telling you it's the best thing in the world, and you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love it, and he's the best breeder, and he's been working on this strain since his grandfather gave it to his dad, and his dad gave it to him, and it's the best thing you've ever had, and you've never been higher, and it's Jack Hare,
Yeah.
you know? And you could tell that on week 2. You don't have to grow it all the way till October, November, December to
For
know
sure.
it's gonna be whack to you. And that's one thing I really pay attention to. Like all I need is a brat, and I'm like, ooh, ooh. But that's just because of all the time I've grown. Some plants, like I've
For
noticed,
sure.
sours and chems do take a little while to express themselves. So I always grow things all the way out, but I'm very much aware of what I think I'm gonna like. You
For
know,
sure.
and that's part of my pheno hunt. You know, paying attention to growth patterns, but aromas, new aromas. It might not be a new aroma, but it's a new aroma to me, and it's gonna be a new aroma to everybody that I talk to, because everything's out there. We're just grabbing it from different places and bringing it here, and I'm sharing it with people. Like a prime example would be Shishka Berry from Breeder Steve. More recently, I was smoked out with some hash of it. I really enjoyed it. The clone ended up at my garden, and that's kind of a selection too. I'm smoking it now. I'm growing the plant. Now I'm making selections with it. I'm breeding with it. But that could start with the plant too. That's what we're talking about more so. But yeah, pheno hunting is aromas, and growth patterns. Some people are like, yo, you have to smoke it. You have to smoke it. I've gotten away with, you know, hunting it and giving it to like killer dudes that do killer production, and they're like, damn Mace, that's all I get. Damn Mace, it's never like, oh, every now and then, hey man, that didn't dump. It's like cool, like that's why we're testing it. Like that's why we're seeing if it dumps, and then I'll hit up another homie. One guy will get like a 1.5, somebody will get above a 3, and it's all like no, like it's good to have different people grow
For
varieties that
sure.
I think are gonna kick ass. Every now and then we do like we grow it out, but it's more than likely getting seeded. And that's an example we have to deal with. Sometimes we do some hash runs in a light depth, or just like full term hash run, but for the most part, it's just locking in aromas, keeping that clone, sharing it with somebody that could do a bigger bust with it as far as consumables are concerned. And that's just sharing it with all my favorite growers and hash makers. And every now and then I'll do one myself.
For sure. When you're like in the initial part of the pheno hunt, are you doing any early culling based on growth patterns, or like what? Like I know some people they'll have it like staged out where they'll be like, okay, by week 4, I'm doing my first culling in veg, just pulling out the ones that are weak or just not looking good. But I know some people will be like, no, some of the weak ones they like shine and flower. Um,
So this is my experience, right? If you're growing older seed stock that wasn't taken care of, stored properly, like say you're growing 5-year-old Colorado seed stock, right? Or another cool breeder, Masonic seed stock, right? And you're like, what the hell's wrong with this plant? It's like growing slow and it's not throwing out that usually a plant throws out that center, leaf set. It's not throwing that one out. Usually those are duds. It's not gonna grow out. Sometimes they'll throw out like an eagle, and usually that's my experience with old seed stock. And keep in mind, you're almost doing like a rejuvenation of this genetic. So
mhm,
it's gonna grow slow. So if you're culling old seed stock, like you already don't know what you're doing. Like like you're like what are you doing? Like these are old seeds. You're supposed to baby them and kind of come on, old man. Like let's get you in the race
for
and let
sure.
it get big and take that clone and then start bringing it back to life. So I do not kill seeds that might grow like a little bit lethargic compared to brand new seeds. Sometimes they just won't grow. They won't throw out that center leaf, so it's a complete dud. The root won't tap. It's a complete dud. But sometimes it will want to grow, so you just kind of baby it, and then it'll
Sure.
grow normally and start throwing out regular leaf structures, and you clone that, and then it's a regular plant. Um, so I don't do selection like that. I just kind of everything gets kept, everything gets thrown into a 1 gallon or whatever cell, veg it out, starts to show mel, kill the mel, All the short ones, all the tall ones, all the medium ones, all the ladies get to live. Nobody dies in my garden. The only things that die are literally things that are dead and won't grow. And that's usually like an old seed, a seed, out of the thousand seedlings, and one probably didn't get hit with water. It's like, I missed you, you little bitch. But for the most part, it's just old seeds that get killed. Old seeds that they just don't develop leaf sets, or the root kind of just didn't want to tap, and it's just the roots kind of all exposed on top of the soil with an actual leaf set on there, but it didn't do its job. It's just too old. It's been 5 7 years and it was in a drawer somewhere. So
Yeah,
that's how I do my culling. I don't cull like that. I don't cull. I'll let an old plant grow, because
for
that's
sure.
literally that's the job that it is. Why are you growing old seeds trying to have new seed growth patterns knowing it wasn't stored correctly? That's madness.
For sure. I mean, it makes sense. And, especially when you are dealing with a lot of older seed stocks or even just a bunch of seeds with mixed ages. And, if it doesn't live, then it doesn't live. But you're not going to go in and make that choice for it early on, because some of those ones do end up being like fire when they're just like the slowest growers in veg. They don't pop off until you clone them or something like that. And then they'll start to actually show vigor. So that's a good practice, and for someone that has as much experience as you, I feel like that's something that a lot of new growers can take away. Um, in terms of new growers, through all of your experiences growing, breeding, phenohunting, the different fertilizers that you've used, the different methods that you've used, what would be some of the advice that you would want to hear as a new grower from someone like you?
Oh man, bro. Don't get blinded by all the gadgets and infrastructure and all these new fertigation lines, even these natural organic lines. Like, the wheel is there, and just, the greats are there. The guys that, if you find a guy that makes a really gnarly good consumable, look there. Don't get blinded by things you've never had or tasted. And that's literally
It's a
what the
good
internet
point.
is. All these guys are like, oh, he's a good grower and he does killer bud and he's the best. Dude, you've never tried his weed. You don't know the guy. You're looking at pictures. You're putting this big story in your head of a person you see. You've never seen him grow the plant, but you assume he's growing the plant and he's putting in the work. And like, he literally, someone probably came to his house and dropped the fucking jars off.
Yeah,
And you know what I'm saying? And it's all I'm saying. It's cooler to be transparent and literally, you know, like with me, I'm transparent as I am. Like, I'll like my consumable has only been so far. Like, I've sent a jar to some people that I respect, like Harry Palms. I sent them a jar, and some of my close friends, I'll send them a jar. Like, my consumable only goes so far. I got a small garden, so
yep,
so that might be something. But I that's why I push the issue of who I am. I make genetics. I make seeds and selections, and I find those, and then I give them to somebody who is that guy.
for sure.
Boom. And that's one thing for new growers is like don't assume. Once you're assuming, you're in the red zone, buddy. Like, make sure you know for a fact. And there's a lot of assumptions, a lot of Wizard of Oz behind the curtain breeding going on, and personas, and there's like a puppet of like 10 people behind a breeder. It's the fucking it's getting weird, and just know that. Just know that.
For sure. No, I do appreciate that you are very transparent about your breeding practices, that you aren't sitting there testing every single strain before it's being released, that your breeding practices are using sort of like a semi-controlled, semi-open pollination in certain aspects, and you're like, these are the female donors for sure. Here's the male donor that I used this year in this area. Here's the male I used over here. Like, go at it. Like, you know what these are already. You've seen them grown out. Like, it's just a continuation of that, and to just allow for more people to hunt through it. And it's not like you're charging, $500 for a pack of 10 seeds. That's like,
Yep.
you
I
know,
mean, a strain will literally win first place. Legends of Hash, Ego Clash, and you can go to my website and buy it for $50. Like, It's tested. It fucking won somebody some hardware. Who
Exactly.
gives a fuck? Don't get me wrong, I do charge for some things that, to make my life sustainable and to keep the things alive. But all in all, like I am very much about meeting people in the middle. Eventually, after I make those seeds, 6 weeks later, I got one or two of them growing in the garden. They're tested, like I'm
Right.
gonna see what they have to offer. It's that quick. Like you can literally pop seeds in a 4 inch pot. You could pop 10 of them in a 4 inch pot, have them flower out right there. And you grew them as big as somebody in his one lighter. Like it's madness. It's madness.
For sure.
It's gardening. It's just gardening. Like just pop the seeds and water them, and next thing you know, you got flowers everywhere. Like my whole natural selection line that I did, I probably hit like 200 plants. I literally went and I put 3 seeds in a 1 gallon pot, and I just filled up my whole backyard with 1 gallon pots. And I tested the whole line in like one run, just to kind of see what's in there. And what's in there, what I expect, receiving ends and mystery donors and cool growing plants, and everything's great and everything's a plant. It's never like some light leak inbred herb project where everything's just all fucking mute. No, it's literally open pollen natural breeding with the more recent runs that I did, and then I did the starburst indoor pollination, and I do outdoor single male donor pollinations where there's no other male influence, and I've cooked enough to be like, oh, this is what's gonna come out. Where it used to be everyone just kind of herms and you're not allowed to do it and bah, 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 bah. Hey, what should I what pollen should I hit to? I have these 5 plants. Which one should I hit to? It's like who gives a fuck? Just hit them all, And that's kind of where I learned. It's all like fuck what everyone has to say. Just do work and garden. And eventually I've learned like, you're good, you're chilling, bro. Like everyone's over here telling themselves they can't do it and telling each other they can't do it, that they don't do it. Meanwhile, I'm literally like, fuck all that. Boom, 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 doing my shit. And,
Doing it. Yeah.
people that I vibe with, that I respect, like Breeder Steve and Bodie and Capulator and Bloom, like they respect the craft. DNA's been to the house, Humboldt Seeds has been to the house, Evermore Genetics, just dope gardeners have been to the house, and they're like, okay, I get it. And I'm just like, see? And I'm showing them plants, and they're like, you're crazy. They're like, oh my God, how do you have this? I'm just like, you just gotta pop seeds, bro. What are you
I
gonna wait
mean,
for the next guy to give you a clone? The next guy to tell you what's cool? Hell no.
I feel like that's good life advice for people just to, ignore the static, ignore the noise, and just do what you want to do. In terms of like, if you're following something in your garden, just garden. Do it for yourself and don't do it for anybody else. And eventually that pays off. But I know that you've done some projects with different members of the like commercial cultivation community, and you've probably seen and faced different aspects of the, as the market went from medical to rec, and now like, whatever this legal market is now, especially there being in California. What would you want to see change in the cultivation industry, whether that be from like a home grow perspective or from a breeder's perspective or from someone who like does these different collaborative projects with other people within the community?
Honestly, I don't. Everything just is. I'm aware of that. I'm not gonna go to the seed junkie demographic and tell them they should grow Tom Hill Haze. So I just kind of just cater to my rye and just scream, and whoever vibes with it. I'm not. I make free seed day. Who wouldn't want to come to free seed day?
It's so
Egotistical
cool.
people that you know they're just not. There's different things for different people, and I made things that are like, man, everybody should love this. There's no way you can't love this. There's a line. It's like, man, if you can't respect someone that got it out from a place that I got it out of, then there's no hope. And it's just like that's what I cater to. I don't want no change. I just make my change amongst my own people, and it's just open mindedness, being aware of the history, and keeping up with everything as well. Like all the hype, all the all the elite legacy varieties, just knowing all of it instead of just only allocating yourself to certain parts of cannabis culture. Like I'm just, dude, just envelop yourself in all of it, from the science to the lore to the history of the genetics to actual great consumables to grow styles to everything. Just know everything, and that's change, right? Like if everyone knows this, then we're good. But no, there's like luxury vanity factions. There's, you know, avant-garde, better than thou, legacy factions. And I kind of just grab a little bit of everything and I just run with it. You know, I don't cater to no one else besides the people that are going to support what I believe in.
For sure. I mean, that's a great answer because that just is still kind of like you making your own path and doing your own thing and not trying to be bogged down by the change that's going on around you, but just trying to flow with it, which is, that's very admirable because so many people try to be that tide, but rather than being that tide, you're just kind of keeping up with the wave, which is sort of the best of both worlds because you get to see those peaks that everyone's kind of reaching with different genetic projects with different cultivation styles. You can be flexible in your approach and you can make it, a change here that might improve, or oh, I saw that this is something new that works out really well and it'll cut costs here, because even for like a home grower like yourself, like I say home grower, but 5,000 plants, like that's not a cheap endeavor. And just like you said earlier, 40, $50 here or there, that's a big expense because you got to spread that out across however many plants you need to use that on, or, whatever that the other bills are for that week. Right. So,
Yep.
um, yeah, I think that that's a great answer. And it's, it's a very flexible and movable answer, like it goes with the times. Um, well, I think that this has been a great conversation. I think I'm about wrapped up on most of the questions that I would normally ask here, but I wanted to see if there was anything that we didn't touch on. I mean, you brought up Free Seed Day. Did you want to talk about that at all, or sort of where that came from?
Yeah, Free Seed Day came up with I'm a comic book avid comic book reader. I read a lot of comic books. I collect comic books, just like I collect genetics. And there's a day in the comic book world. It's called Free Comic Book Day. Every year they do it on the first Saturday of May. And when I had my storefront, I was kind of having FOMO, and I was like, "Yo, I should make a free seed day," and that's kind of where it started. I just dug into my Rolodex of homies and shamelessly asked them. I had this really bright idea where we just kind of give back, and we did that, and we kind of signed up for a task that it's turned into like 1,000 person people pulled up to the last one, and we divvied up 1,000 bags with 10 packs of seeds or more in each one, and everyone got a whole gang of genetics. We gave away a lot of seeds that day, and we've been doing that. We've done that 5 times already.
That's so cool. Damn. I mean, like giving away that many genetics, and it's from people that are well known in the community, and they aren't just giving away their like, throwaway stock of some project
Oh
that never
no,
made it
Gene
out.
Finder was there, DNA's there, Compounds there, Bloom sends gear, Exotic sends gear, Soulfire sends gear, but never think that these are the end all be all strains. Dude, you should see some of these hobby growers' visions, bro. Like these guys are overlooked. It's almost like looking through crates, like finding that hidden talent on the boulevard. Like, dude, there's some crazy readers and talented people that don't necessarily have that sway. And Free Seed Day shines a big light on people like that. For me, especially, I
For
look through
sure.
these people's vision and I'm like, whoa, you crossed that to that. How? When? Where? That's crazy. F that guy, you're onto something. So it's cool to see, like, and some of these guys are known amongst their homies, but they're not known on a grand scale like some of the
Sure.
bigger breeders. And
What was one of
see,
the Sorry, what was one of the biggest like surprises that you had there where you like unknown breeder wanted to throw their seeds in for free seed day. You got the packs in and maybe you popped a few of the seeds yourself and you found something that you were just like, holy shit, this is on some next level of this like profile?
So just like crosses in general, and they're all good, you know, like that's how I think I got brushed into like Easy Seeds. He does a lot of Oishi hybrids, you know, a
Okay.
lot of Rainbow Belts, Day Wrecker, you know, like that's the stuff I love. So when I see it, I'm like, yo. And then there's this other guy. His name is Pagoda. He did like original haze crossed into wedding cake, pine tar Kush crossed into triangle Kush. Like he's just doing these really edgy type varieties. And Pagoda's a G. Like I had grown his seeds in 2018, and then he had donated that year, and I'm like, yo, aren't you the guy that I? And yeah, he is, and he's part of like the Emerald Triangle, Tim Blake type circles. Like he's been
Okay.
breeding, and it's just cool to have like these legendary type genetics in our hands. There's people that send gear from Germany, you know, like, and he's got like these old cheese type hybrids,
Oh, damn.
units of inheritance. Like, there's just weird, quirky, dope stuff. There's this guy, Kindway Farms. I forget where they're from. They sent Triangle Kush S2s and shit. Like, it gets
Whoa.
crazy. It gets crazy, bro. Some guy sent Death Star back crosses. Like, it gets crazy.
Wow.
Gene Finder pulled up with gear. Like, come on, you know, fucking Gene Finder OG. He's brought all types of stuff that he's doing with Hayes Valley, you know, meal fuel this, permanent marker fem that. Like, and these are known breeders though, but like, you know, the pagodas and the and these other guys, you know, the kind of way farms, all these underground breeders, I would call them that, you know. Dude, they shine, you know. Collie Man Co-op did like Rainbow Belt Z Cube. Like these guys get down. They get down. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Have do you know if anybody's like gotten one of those baggies on free seed day, taken it, done a pheno hunt, found something, and won a competition with something out of there?
Not to my knowledge yet, but I wouldn't
For
be
sure.
surprised, honestly. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. I a lot of people there's so much good stuff in there. Like it's amazing. Somebody sent in Gelato 41 S1s, SFB OG Gelato, black maple crossed into something. Like it gets gnarly. It gets gnarly and it's honestly like to me it's good for me because it streamlines my genetic process where I get to see the grand picture and be like, holy smokes, like that's fire, that's fire. They always send me extras. They'll send me a care package for me, and it's crazy. It's crazy. I get to grow a lot of varieties because of this day. It's like free comic book day. It's like
For sure.
you know, it's dope. And
D-
we did that.
with that larger picture that you're talking about, um, what trends have you been seeing in terms of flavor profiles that you feel like are, you know, up there in the first three that cover the widest swath with it, within what people are sending in?
To be honest, dude, it's everything, bro. It's everything. And that's where people are like, oh my God, I wish we still had this one. And oh, this is gone. There's no more gas. It's like, no, your bandwidth is not that expansive. You know, like you, you, you don't even have the energy to accumulate that energy back. Like everything's out there, you know, and it's at free seed day, but people's head is so big that why would they want to go to a 100% culture orientated event? You know, there's got to be there's something the jig. You know, there's got to be something. No, dude, like I literally can lose money at this place if I don't play my cards right, and I do it just because I've done it so much that it's like I just have to do it, even if I got to
Yeah.
come out my pocketbook 1,000 or two. I'm blessed. I got a good job. People put me in a position to do what I do. Sometimes I got to pay it back, and free seed day is that like it's everything. It's everything. You name it, from the most hype permanent marker to Snow High's Acapulco Gold Highland Thai varieties to autos. Like
For
it's
sure.
everywhere. It's everywhere. There's everything. There's no, oh, everyone's sending gelato hybrids. No, no. Two guys got gelatos. This guy's got some fucking made up name he came up with. This guy did a crazy cross. This guy didn't even label the seeds. Like that's one guy every year. But like
That's so
there's
funny.
everything. There's everything. There's everything, you know? There's
Nice.
everything. There's everything.
I mean, that's awesome to because sometimes I feel like you hear, oh, the market's just going in this one direction. Oh, it's all candy, purple candy gas. And personally, I don't mind the purple candy gas because as a commercial cultivator, I'm like, yeah, I gotta grow it. That's what people want. But for a home grower, I always tell people, if you want to have a super silver haze, don't be going to your local dispensary and asking them when they're going to have it because they're going to label something as super silver haze for you. Grow it yourself because you can then take that 14 weeks to really make sure that it's flowered out all the way and that you get the full expression of that plant because no commercial cultivator wants to grow out a 14-week flowering strain. They're like far and few in between, and if they do it, then they're not really charging much more for it in most cases.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, everything's out there. Everything is there. And a lot of us live in this echo chamber of things, but I'm such a fan of the things that I do. I play games that I'm good at. I'm good at this. Not everyone is as good at it as, and don't get me wrong, I'm a student of the game forever and ever. I'm always open minded. I'm always little dog. I'm never gonna disrespect my masters that taught me the things that I know and put me in a position to get what I've done. But everything's out there, man. Everything's out there. You just got to go get it. There's some things that gets talked about, but that's all it is. It's just getting talked about. But for the most part, like they'll say, "Oh, this is gone and sour's gone," and bro, like whatever, like go grow some more. Go grow some more.
Yeah, for real. Well, I just got a few wrap up questions then for you that I like to ask all the guests that come on the show.
Yeah.
Um, but you have such a vast knowledge of different breeders and different genetics that feel free to take this in whichever path you want. But what is your favorite strain of all time?
So, growing up, OG, right? OG was my number one, and then as I got older, Skittles. I love Z. I love Z hybrids. I love Z gas type. Like right now, I'm smoking Oishi. Oishi's really good. I smoke this Chopperazzi from Bloom. It's a TMZ hybrid, which is a Skittles hybrid. It's Skittles forward, phenomenal. This Spritzer, really good. It's a Runts
The
Mac
Spritzer's
type
nice.
hybrid. Really nice. It's got like that candy zinginess. I like it a lot. And then the Belts is really good. So these are what I like currently. I love me a nice sour fuel. I love me a nice pancakes. Every now and then, I love me a nice cam, like a black cup of coffee. Like Resin Ranch's cam that he does is phenomenal. That shit is like, that shit puts hairs on your chest, Like, it's not
For
as
sure.
flavorful as like the Spritzer or the Z's, but you just know it's like you're a fuck. You turn into a dragon when you smoke that motherfucker. Like, it's
Sure.
that marble
Your
man
face
type
goes
shit.
full red.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff. But in that order, I like my candy Z da 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 sours, pancakes is kind of right below the spritzer, above the spritzer, followed by like the cami stuff. Fruity, yeah, I like fruity and stuff, but like it's easier to tell you what I don't like. Like I don't like terpenoline stuff. I don't like floral stuff. Punchy stuff, I'm gonna say it. It's been growing on me because objectively grown great anything, it's hard to disregard. So like if someone gives you a 10 out of 10, even terpenoline, you're gonna respect it because you love the plant. I'm talking about me. Or anybody like me. But Z, gas, sour, candy, all those mixed together, that's my favorite shit.
Right on. Right on. I feel like that's right up a lot of people's alleys right now as well. It's good. I feel like the best grown stuff is going to be what's really popular on the market right now, and that's where you're going to get these really exceptional flavor expressions, especially from people like resin ranchers. Like they do amazing work down there. Um,
I'm talking about Resin Ranch Todd. I know there's Resin Ranchers in Oregon as well. I'm talking about Resin Ranch Todd. I'm
oh,
familiar with Resin Ranchers Mount Hood Magic as well. I've had their Mount Hood Magic before, but I'm talking about Resin Ranch Todd's chem. Let's give credit where it's due. His
for
chem,
sure,
his production, his objective quality as far as consumables in hash is like 9, 10 out of 10, and his palette for strains that he grows is on point as well.
for sure. Yeah, sorry. not trying to confuse the two. I
No,
would
it is confusing. That's why had to make sure because you said
for sure.
them when it's just one guy. It's just one guy, and I see you with the
Gotcha.
Oregon shirt, so I'm like, he probably talking about the Oregon homies because I was in Oregon when I tried Resin Ranchers,
For
plural.
sure. Yeah, we do at the place that I cultivate for, we do a lot of the outdoor production for Orgrown's fresh frozen extract. Um, so if you've ever had any of their stuff, I might have grown it for.
I remember Oregon when I first hopped on Instagram. They were all over the place. Oregon, they were like super hype. And now and then I'll see them trinkle up here and there, like on your sweater, you know? Like I remember when I hopped on Instagram, Mills, OGKB, Oregon was like, it was just all over your phone. Like very, very clean cut, in your face brandage, I would say, you know?
Yeah, definitely. They were definitely. I feel like I saw a lot more of them around in that sort of capacity 4 or 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, let's see. Next question. Who is your favorite breeder of all time? And I know for someone like yourself, this might be a little bit more of a like, oh man, I have so many. So if you had to restart breeding from the ground up, and you could only choose one breeder to like pick from their stock of all their seeds that they have to start your breeding project all over again, who would you go with?
I wouldn't go with anybody else. I would probably go with what Bloom has offered me via Oni Seed Company and himself. It's him, right? Papaya Fems, Trot Fems, and then he started doing Dub Fems, right? So if I kept following him, I'd be in a good place. And then he did Z Fems, right? So I'm not like uh growing mids to say the least. I'm not growing mimosa if I would have went with symbiotic. I'm not growing Colombians if I went with cap. I'm not growing Riot's quirky fucking strains that he's never even grown or smoked himself. I'm just talking shit now. But like I would literally I'm literally like I would go with like with Bloom. Bloom hasn't steered me wrong, you know? That was one of the original tools that was offered to me. He knows where he's going. He's choosing the right things and even till now status quo, I don't disagree with any of his offerings. Like you know, big shout out to big bro fucking Harry Palms, but he was the first person to give me seed stock.
For sure. I mean, that's a great answer because like I've asked this to another person that was a breeder as well, and they Bloom was up there on their list. I always throughout, my answer would probably be like Bloom or like Humboldt CSI, just because of the S1 stock that he has of every basic hype strain that's ever
That's
come
not
through
a
the
bad
market.
choice. Bubba Kush S1s. He did Skittles S1s type gear.
Yep,
Um, and he's probably done a whole bunch of other dope ass shit for sure. That's not a
exactly.
bad choice. Just my 2 cents. That's not. Hey, good choice, big guy.
No,
Good
I, I,
choice. Good choice.
I like Bloom though. That's
Yeah.
because he does have his like. It's almost like he is the pulse in some cases in terms of the trends that are being set within the commercial space, at least for what these like kind of where the candy and some of the gas and the fruits are leading. So I think that that's a great choice, especially if you got to restart from that. It's like a an easy first hunt to find your your new mom and dad stock.
I
So
mean, it's like spotlighting the things that are great. That's the vision. I was saying
yeah,
earlier, everything comes from nowhere. He fucking made seeds with papaya before everyone, and then spotlighted and put it and made it accessible. And it's all like, I think he's got something figured out, you know. And I kind of look at what he does, even though I do a lot of my own shit, but like I've subconsciously do some of the things he do. I found shishka berry. I thought a lot of people weren't into it, and sure enough, I was right. Started making hybrids with it, made seed stock of it. Somebody won a first place cup with it, and people love it, you know?
for sure. Well, this leads me to the last question of our wrap up here. What is your most memorable cannabis or smoking related experience?
Oh man, so many, bro. So many bad ones, so much debauchery that I can't even talk about. It would make us look in bad light, but like let's think of some good ones, right?
Yeah,
Like
let's go positive.
let's think of some good ones. I remember when Simply Adam won with the Banana God F2 seed stock at Ego Clash. I was there, and the Banana God F2 is derivative work of my foundation that I've created for genetics, and I was happy, and we kind of soaked that one in together. That was a good one, you know. One time
Nice.
I gave my buddy Dab Life a selection of my Sour Diesel Karma BX2, a Wilson, and he won second place ego with it. That felt good, you know. The homie Charlie, I gave him some shishka berry seeds, and he won first place legends with it. You know, that one felt good for us. Swollen Heads Tito won second place with the banana cooler Wilson. So every time these close people that I share offerings with win something, it's kind of like a collective effort. Even more so the Sour D Wilson one, you know, that one felt good. Free Seed Day always feels good. It warms my heart, you know, like things like that. So it just when I see people like Rob Clark name drop things that only I've been doing and no one's paying attention to me about, it makes me happy. You know, like holy shit, I thought I was the only one that knew about Trident seeds. You know, and I've had this seed stock in my garden, and I still grow varieties of it for 4 years now. You know, and it just like it like makes me happy. It warms me up.
For
When Breeder
sure.
Steve hits me up and he's like, "Yo, I like what you're doing," blah blah blah, or when Bodie's like, "Yo, I can't wait to see, you know, what you're gonna do this season in your garden." It's like cool. Like even though there's all this noise and people, you know, feel how they want to feel, I got some good patrons that got my back, and I've done things for the community that feels good, and we won together. You know, so that
For
all
sure.
warms my heart and feels good. And the people that got my back feels good. It's like a nice protection. You know.
Yeah. No, that's a great answer because it there is so much noise out there and there's so many people trying to, you know, throw some sort of negative connotations on different people for whatever, whatever hurt feelings they might have or, seeing someone else succeed in a place that they want to succeed or can only dream about it, right? Like there's just a lot of haters out there. So it's good to keep your head above that noise and look at the positives of the community that are still like, hey, love what you do, love how you're doing it, keep going. That's always the good feedback that even for me keeps me going on this podcast because it's not the easiest thing, right? Like putting all the time and effort into something on top of everything else that life has coming your way. So, hats off to you for that. That's awesome.
Yep. I do
Um,
podcasts because I enjoy them. You know, I'm not necessarily, yo, we got to do this to make more money. It's not like we're just gonna do the podcast. We got a $3 commitment fee, like take it or leave it, you know. And I do it because I enjoy it. It's literally, hey, we're sitting down with the homies. Might as well make it structured and do the history and write it with your friends, or else you're gonna leave it up to everybody else.
for sure. Well, like I like to say, that's the namesake of the podcast, the way we grow, because getting together like this, having these conversations, talking about our stories, and sort of spreading the knowledge of cannabis is how the community grows and how sort of we help remove this stigma that's still around it in certain areas of the country and the world. So, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And
Thank you,
do
Nick.
you have any shout outs or plugs that you want to do here at the end?
Hell yeah. MasonicSeeds.co. Guys, we got the subscription service. 3 packs straight to your front door on a monthly basis for only 25 bucks. Go to
That's
MasonicSeeds.co. Go make your
crazy.
subscription service today. That's 36 seeds, 3 varieties, 25 bucks on a monthly basis. We rotate them monthly. Go make your subscription today. Home of the award-winning genetics. Tap the fucking Masonic Seeds, baby. Let's go.
For sure, for sure. Well, again, Masonic, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I really appreciate it. And, we'll talk again soon.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Be good.
For sure.
Peace, peace.